Thank you very much for that very important statement. I now give the floor to the representative of the Russian Federation. Thank you, Mr. President. We would like to welcome the participation in today's meeting of the President of the Tunis Republic, Kais Saied, as the President of the Security Council. We'd like to thank the Secretary General of the UN, Antonio Guterres, the chairperson of the African Union, Mr. Moussa Faki Mohamed, and also the former president of Liberia, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, for their briefings. Of course, we express our sincere condolences to Niger for the terrible, devastating terrorist attack that happened at the beginning of the month. The topic of today's meeting on factors impacting peace and security in fragile contexts is extremely broad in context. I believe that all would agree that the topic under discussion is pertinent not just to be discussed in the Security Council, but in other UN bodies as well. The leading role in solving issues that are not directly linked to the maintenance of international peace and security should be played by the relevant fora that have the relevant expertise and instruments to develop long-term solutions. Furthermore, assistance and stepping up efforts of different UN structures can be useful, but only when it is appropriate and when all member states have agreed upon this. It's also important to avoid duplication of efforts among UN structures. Mr. President, in the concept note to today's meeting, it's rightly pointed out that some factors that undermine stability in the world are the subject of discussion in the Security Council: combating climate change and its impact, and other environmental issues require practical measures focusing on the instruments of the development system of the UN and also on decisions taken under the UNFCCC and also under other decisions in the General Assembly and ECOSOC. Each UN body should work strictly complying with its own mandate. Effective work in the area of development will help to achieve the practical tasks of the field missions in line with the Council's mandate. The deterioration of the environment, inter alia, as a result of climate change, may well have an impact on socio and economic development. In particular, this may rather lead to an unstable situation. In particular, if we're talking about countries in Africa. Environmental issues, however, need to be considered given each and every individual situation with its own specifics. There should be no illegal exploitation of natural resources in Africa, inter alia, by external players who are exploiting the difficult situation to exert pressure on the government in order to achieve their own aims and goals. Appropriate management of natural resources, including water and other natural resources, and the provision of assistance to vulnerable countries can help to ensure that such factors don't cause socio and economic instability. There are links between development and human rights. However, we are against automatically linking them and positioning them as universal factors causing conflict. We are convinced that the work of the international community in this area should not be based on an arbitrary interpretation of so-called indicators of crises. That would lead to potential abuse. Preventing and settling crises and also peace building should not be used for external interference, and this includes the illegal overthrowing of a government. Something that is undoubtedly a factor that destabilizes an already fragile situation is unilateral coercive measures and illegal sanctions imposed bypassing and circumventing the Security Council. We, and not just us, have been talking about this all the time, but some of our partners prefer either to ignore this or to dumb down the impact of such measures. We agree entirely with the Secretary General of the UN, who is calling for a lifting of unilateral coercive sanctions, including in General Assembly and Security Council resolutions. Sir, the primary responsibility for the response to dealing with challenges in their territory it should be played by their own countries. The UN and Security Council should respond based on the country's national priorities. We agree with the thrust of the UN Secretary General, Mr. Guterres' desire to strengthen cooperation between the UN and the AU. We believe that it's necessary to pool efforts to harness the capacities of both organizations to tackle conflicts on the continent, because Africans surely know best the situation in their own continent. Thank you very much indeed.